Hello and welcome back to Automotive Tales. We are back in the garage, this time with a Picanto. So once again, I'm not working on my fleet of cars. We have got somebody else's car on the lift. So this is a friend of ours who works at the pub up the road, and we noticed her car was smelling of petrol. Let me explain why. So this car has previously been into a garage for a fuel leak, and you can see here we have got, this is the line coming in from the filler, and this one up here is the breather. Now this breather should be all nice corrugated conduit plasticky stuff like this, which had obviously failed over time. And so the solution was to put this little extension of rubber on and then a little adapter, which is here, and then Jubilee clamp all of it up. So not a bad fix all in all, except that pipe is too large. It should be a 16mm pipe, not, I think that's an 18, and then just rely on the Jubilee clips to hold it in place. Also, that has already perished, so it's probably heater hose. And this solution, well, this solution wasn't great either because that was also leaking. So the fix really is either to replace this entire plastic breather line, or it's to run some proper fuel hose from there all the way up into the wheel arch, so that when the car is full of fuel, even if that isn't a perfect seal, it isn't going to leak fuel everywhere. As you can see, the first challenge was, well, mud. There's a lot of mud inside a wheel arch of a little car like this. As you can see here, so taking all of this apart to get to it, but super easy to work on this little Kia Picanto. So there are just 4 screws in the top here, which I think are actually JIS screws. We found another screwdriver that fits. Pop that all out, take the little cover off, knock all of the soil out of it, and then we'll replace this line here. So we'll probably splice in somewhere up here with a bit of heater hose, and then unless the car is literally brimmed, it isn't going to leak. And at that point, it won't be under any pressure anyway, so it's unlikely to seep out. And all of that lot is hidden behind these little bits of plastic to protect the filler hose and the breather hose. So these have been in the sink and are now all nice and clean because, well, they looked a bit like that to start with. So I've dispatched Dr. Nuff. He's gone off to find some fuel hose. I actually found some heater hose that was the right size, but you don't want to use heater hose on a fuel application, even for a breather, because fuel will sit in that line and then it will just perish and we're back to square one. So as you can see, Dr. Nuff is back. Unfortunately, this is not fuel hose. This is the original heater hose that I had spare. We cannot get any because it's a Saturday, which is slightly annoying. Not in stock at Halfords or our local parts supplier. So I've ordered some 5/8 fuel hose. We're going to put this on temporarily because it might perish in a couple of weeks or even maybe a couple of months. But that's long enough for the new part to arrive and we get it back in. And with all these being cleaned up and all the screws and bolts greased up, it should come apart nice and easy next time. And we can put some proper fuel hose on rather than heater hose. But you can see we've taken more of the old breather off and we've moved the junction much further up to a point where it's sealed better, because this breather actually has a couple of flat sections on. So it was originally pushed into this ribbed section, which it was never going to seal on. But this flat section here, it should seal okay. So we put a little O-ring on the flat surface at the back here. We couldn't get an O-ring to sit inside on the barbs, which is what I was hoping to do. But a little O-ring on the bottom of there, and then Jubilee clip, and it feels nice and tight, whereas before it was, well, it pulled straight out, so it was definitely not sealing. And this is now much further up in the wheel arch, which means unless the thing is absolutely brimmed to the hilt, there's going to be no fuel sitting in there, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Worst case scenario, if it's absolutely brimmed for the first couple of miles, it'll be a bit of a weeping, maybe a bit of a fuel smell, but after that it'll be fine. Whereas at the moment, you can't get in much more than about half a tank, I think, and then it starts leaking, which is slightly annoying. It's not bad with a bit of lube, isn't it? I think that'll do us. Squealy, squealy. Gotta go with the handbrake on. Lab. How's it going, Mr. Nuff?
Pretty good, mate. Pretty good.
What are you doing?
Taking the radiator out at the moment.
How's that going?
Well.
So this might be a very short episode because, well, there's lots of swearing, and so there's only so many beeps I can put in one video, I think. But you may have noticed we have something a little special on the lift today. We have Figaro. We have a little Nissan Figaro, which belongs to Soph, who you may recognise has been featured on the channel before, even though she's a little overexposed right now. And we are taking the cooling system out of Luna the Figaro because, yeah, it's not functioning very well. And the next job on the list will be brakes, because they apparently don't function either, as somebody found out on the way driving here today that they appear to have leaked some of their fluid out since it was last driven, which is marginally sketchy. Yes, while being followed by a police car, so that's always a fun experience. But luckily the handbrake works very well, so, you know, that's a good thing.
That's why the Americans call it an emergency brake.
This is true, it is an e-brake because the Americans call it an emergency brake. Look how tiny this little thing is with a turbo. And, almost on cue, is it coming out? No pressure. I would say the world is watching, but about 10 people are watching probably.
Yeah, so it's still...
Something still attached. Very good. Hopefully nothing important.
Hopefully the counter.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, there it is.
Six try lucky, yeah?
Second, you cheeky.
Just like that, yeah?
Easy one.
State of it. Oh dear.
Shiny bits.
Yeah.
Very shiny bits. Ooh. So, sit rep. Radiator is out. This one has sworn some more. And silicone hoses are going in all over the cooling system. What's really cool about this is there's a cooling link to the turbo. So it's like a water-cooled turbo, I suspect. And that goes into the intake here where it says... I was going to say EFI, ECCS, but yeah, bit unusual. And one pretty new radiator, complete with spoil fan. So this is the old one. You can see it is not in great condition. New temperature sender in as well. A bit of wiring to do because the fan connector is different, but otherwise a fairly simple switchover. Swearing continues, but spark plugs are done, and most of the hoses are in, although that's marginally worrying. It's been a nice clean job, hasn't it?
What's that? Yeah, boy.
Get your hands.
I've enjoyed it very much.
What doesn't tell you, your work's done of mine. That's why his hands look like that.
A few moments later.
So quick update on Luna, the Figaro. We haven't got the job finished. We found a few more lines we need to get replaced. There's a little resistor pack for the fan on the radiator that was damaged that needs replacing before the whole thing goes back together. And we realised we hadn't got the oil, so we dropped the oil ready to do a service. Need to get the oil filter out. We have got a filter, but we haven't got enough oil to put back in. So a few things we needed to get, including some brake fluid. So the brakes had basically run out of fluid. So when the car arrived here, the brakes failed. Luckily, the handbrake works as they arrived on the driveway. So we're going to fill that up, but it needs DOT 3. These little Figaros use DOT 3, which is quite interesting. Fill the system up and then see if we can find out where it's leaking from, because it shouldn't be leaking. You should only be replacing fluid when it's aged out, not when it's leaked out. So lots going on with that, but it's going to get a bit chaotic around here. So you'll see we have a garage full of cars. We have Luna in pieces in here, and tonight everything has to come out of the garage. All the cars have to come out of the garage for work to start very immediately tomorrow, because while we were working on Luna in here yesterday, I discovered something very, very worrying about my delightful garage. So this up here is called a wall plate, and this is sort of how it's supposed to look, although it shouldn't look quite so squished like it is there. This is not how it's supposed to look. So in the last couple of weeks, or since I last checked or looked up here, this has started to roll, and a bit of a push in it with my finger, and this is absolutely rotten. It is soft. I can put my finger through that. It also means when you look up here, a bit more, this has started to come apart. So the load on the roof from the tiles, which are wrong, it's got concrete tiles, which it shouldn't have, together with this rotten, I call it a ring beam, but wall beam, whatever your wall plate, has caused the roof to move. So this is actively moving now in my garage above all the cars. So we've had to find some emergency storage. Some of the cars are roadworthy, so we're going to go out on the road. Some are going to go into our other barn. Some are going to go into storage or on the driveway. But everything has to come out of here tomorrow or tonight, ready for tomorrow. They're going to come in and do some emergency stabilizing work here to make sure this doesn't open up any further. And then it's going to be a roof off job. We're going to have a completely new roof. So you might look at the roof on here and think, well, actually, it doesn't look too bad. You can see it has dipped a little bit in the middle, but I think that's a historic shape to the roof. But the reason we're going to have to replace the whole roof and why it sounds like overkill to be taking the whole lot off is because those are concrete tiles and they are too heavy for that roof structure. Should never have been put on in the 80s. So unfortunately, we're going to have the whole lot taken off. We can do the remedial work to that wall beam at the top, check everything else is stable, and then put a whole new roof structure in. That probably isn't going to happen for a few weeks. So some of the cars might go back in once we're happy that things are stabilised. But yeah, we need to make some rather urgent action, which is great because, you know, what I needed was another expensive bill. Join us next time on Automotive Tales as we assemble some friends to get all of these cars and all the stuff out of the garage in a bit of a hurry to hopefully get this roof stabilised. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching. I do miss the noise this thing makes though.